back. I had to make sure I wasn't dreaming when he said what he said. So, but I'm
here, of course, joined with Nick Bodkins of the Bodkins Show. Nick. Welcome on in, everybody, to another edition of Buffoon and Bodkins. My name is Tanner Dawson. I'm with the Sports Buffoon. Joining me is Nick Bodkins of the Bodkins Show. Nick, welcome in.
Hey, happy 4th of July, man. Great 4th of July. It's real hot out there. It's hot as balls out there, folks.
Oh, it's so humid. Humid.
It's so humid. Welcome, our second episode. We made it through 1 week, and they didn't take us down. So we're gonna we're gambling. We're gambling for round number 2. If you're out barbecuing today, stop, give us a good listen. Share, talk a little sports before we get drinking too much and enjoying our 4th of July festivities. We did our 4th of July for the most part yesterday. Tanner, I know you're on location in the great state of Kansas, Topeka, right?
Yeah. No, I'm down in Wichita.
Wichita,
right
shit. The only
we're
other
doing
thing I know in Kansas.
That's right. We're doing all our 4th stuff tonight, so it's going to be nice and humid, sweaty. But I'm really excited for it because we got a lot of family here on my wife's side, so it's going to be an exciting time. I did the best for the backdrop I had. Her grandpa has kind of like a man cave down here. Perfect setup, nice and cool, just what I like. So we're going to make this thing work, guys.
Right on. So selfless plug here. If you missed the UFC Bodkin show,
yes,
pre and post show, we did that yesterday, and the post show was yesterday. We actually had Frank the Tank all the way from Philadelphia joined us. A guy that's doing Philadelphia media joined us. We did our post show yesterday, and then we did our UFC pre show. Today, Tanner, go ahead and talk to him about what kind of guests we got coming on today. Shortly here.
Yep, all in Central Time, guys. Here at 2:45, we'll have Dan Brosnan of the Fan Club. He'll be coming on, talk some NBA free agency dates. I got some questions for him. Want to get his thoughts and see what's going on. 3 o'clock, guys. We'll have Jonathan GRISHMAN on once again to go over our big matchup, big series of the week.
Big series of the week.
Yep. So that's gonna be exciting there. And then 3:15, we'll have the guy that brought us all together, Dan Harris of Let's Talk Sports, of the Let's Talk Sports Network. This guy is, we'll kind of chat with him about New York Jets, but this is the guy that we all admire, and he's done so much for all of us in the Let's Talk Sports Network. And there's, more coming with Roku happening and stuff. So super excited to chat with him. So we got a pretty big show lined up there, and we'll see how things roll out. But we got a lot of thoughts and feelings to go about.
Yeah, before we get to the NBA talk, what's kind of your thoughts there with the NBA so far? Was free agent, moves. The Bulls signed Goran Dragic today, which I thought was a nice move, pickup for the Bulls, due to the fact, it doesn't look like Lonzo Ball may ever play again. So that's a huge question mark there. We needed another steady point guard. So we signed the Bulls signed Goran Dragic. That was a nice pickup. But what's kind of been your surprise or pickup so far?
Yeah, I just think Minnesota being in the realm of making moves. Granted, not a lot of us like the trade, but the fact that they were out there trying to beef up the core, aka the starting lineup with Rudy Gobert, I just thought it was really surprising to see a team like Minnesota do that, because that's normally a team that gives away players more than they take in players. So I thought Towns might have been on the move. I spoke about it on a couple of Buffoon episodes last month, kind of predicting all season. And honestly, I think Minnesota is probably my favorite of the offseason moves so far.
What's like outside of KD? What's like the next big guy to move? I think Donovan Mitchell's probably on the way to go.
You would think, right?
Wendy kind of ESPN Brian Windhurst I was watching a little something the other day, and he was kind of making it sound. So Danny Ainge, it was weird because like Danny Ainge, when he first became this Boston Celtics GM, what did he do? He hired a good young coach and then traded those 3 players away, traded Garnett, Pierce, and Allen away. So it seems like he tears it down and then builds it up, and that's what I think that's what he's doing in Utah. So, if we're speculating a Donovan Mitchell trade, what kind of trade would that inquire? And we'll have to ask, our NBA analyst when he comes on too, that kind of the same question.
Yeah, you're probably looking at Rudy Gobert went for four first round picks, right, and a handful of players. You have to be looking at 4 to 5 first round picks somewhere in the mix. So for a team that whoever has it left, obviously, there's not a lot of teams anymore that seem to have any first round picks left. But you got that in place. They're going to look at 3 to 4 first round picks and possibly a big name to go with this next trade for Donovan Mitchell. Otherwise, he's staying on the Jazz. So I don't know. They could also be working up together all these picks together, like they got for Rudy Gobert, and doing the reset and build around Donovan Mitchell. So that they may not move Donovan in the end. It's my thought.
Is Donovan going to want to stick around on a losing ball club for the next few years?
I wouldn't if I was him, but what was he going to do? Demand a trade? He's a great player. He's definitely in the superstar. Just almost there, but he doesn't have KD power. He doesn't have LeBron power. He doesn't have Kyrie power yet. So I just don't know. I think the Utah Jazz can keep him right now.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you. And since I guess we'll just kind of talk about the highlight that was the last week. Like any sports related news, we've outside of just the NBA or anything that caught your eye this past week here while we're just kind of catching up.
So it's kind of funny. Did you see that U.S. Open Twitter exchange going on?
Yeah,
that was hilarious. Trashing on Drew Lock, and they even posted like the top. I think it was the top 40, top 50 quarterbacks in the league, and he goes, "There are 32 teams, right? Because Drew Lock and Geno Smith, Geno was at 33, Drew Lock was like 39 or some crap, and yeah, it was hilarious that they were just trashing this guy, the Seahawks fan, that was talking trash on tennis."
So yeah, if you don't know the story, you can probably look it up. It's kind of made news here. So a guy, U.S. Open had posted something, and this guy, the Seahawks fan, post not a real sport, so nobody cares. And the U.S. Open, the actual official U.S. Open account, Twitter account, whoever's running their social media there is a genius. He said, tough for a guy who's about to watch 17 games. Was it 17 games? Geno Smith and Drew Lock. Drew Lock did respond to that this morning. He just kind of posted something. It was kind of funny. Nothing about trashing U.S. Open.
Nah. But, it was a shout out to the intern running Twitter.
Yeah. He said a good day or something like that, especially to the guy that's running that account. So pretty funny. Hey, tennis has got to stick up for themselves. You know what I mean? Like as when you're middling around there. But yeah, hilarious. If it's a Seahawks fan, this is probably the least amount of time you've probably been able to talk to anything in the last, I don't know, decade.
That's true too. That's very true. Like nobody's able to do that stuff anymore. So, I loved it. I love the fact that the U.S. Open just chimes right in and pretty much trashes Seattle. So,
shots fired.
I love it. Oh man. Let's see here. What else here? We're still waiting on Dan, right?
Yeah, still Dan. Yeah.
Still waiting on Dan here. What else is happening in the sports world here? I watched a little USFL last night. Still not entertaining. I can't get behind it. It's just bad football. Yeah, I don't know if you've caught any games.
No, I have. I can tell you I've watched 0 seconds of the USFL. I was really into the XFL, and maybe it's just because we had a team in St. Louis. I was getting behind the Battlehawks because it'd been the first team in Missouri that we'd had since the Rams left, so I was kind of behind it. I'm waiting to see what happens when that league comes back next year. The Battlehawk fans, they packed that shitty stadium better than they'd packed it for the Rams the last few years. I thought it was pretty funny. But I haven't caught any of the USFL. Baseball, we'll have a little, or talk about our big series of the week. It was, if you're wondering what that was, it was the Rays and Blue Jays. I kind of followed that up a little bit this week because that's a race that's kind of going on. It'll be interesting. We kind of talked about the Yankees and how good they were. So both those teams last week. So today we'll be talking about can either one of those two teams catch up to the Yankees and where they fall in the wild card. But that was a pretty big series. My Cubs took 2 out of 3 from the Red Sox, so that was huge. The last second to last place team beating the Red Sox, so I'll take it.
Hey, a win is a win. That's how you gotta look at it. As a Royals fan, a win's a win.
Yeah,
Right. I think we took the series against Detroit, but we did lose 2. I think we lost 1 in the 9th inning on a walk-off hit that we were up 3-0 on, and it's just heartbreaks. It's just heartbreaks. Is what it is.
Obviously, I watched the UFC 276, and I'll just kind of give a quick while we're going on. We're waiting here, and UFC 276 didn't quite live up to the building. The Sugar Sean O'Malley, the first fight on the card, was a no contest due to an eye poke. The co-main event was excellent. I mean, Alexander Volkanovski cemented his name as the greatest featherweight champ of all time due to, just demolished a guy in Max Holloway through 5 rounds. Pieced him apart. Max had one eye that was busted open as the size of the Grand Canyon, another eye closed shut, and Volk just had looked like a little paper cut. Probably could have fought today if he wanted to again after going 5 rounds with one of the greatest fighters of all time and just beat Max Holloway to death. It's interesting to see what happens with Volk. We kind of talked about that yesterday on the Bodkins show, but he called out the 155 champ, Charles Oliveira.
Right.
That would be a hell of a match. He wants to become double champ and compete and defend both titles. It'll be interesting. Henry Cejudo, who's coming out of retirement, is a big name that could he's wanting to move up. So Henry Cejudo was a champ of the flyweights and the bantamweights. Now Henry Cejudo is looking to try to, after he retired, the very first card back after the pandemic and all that. Now Henry, so it's been 2 years almost since we've seen Henry Cejudo fight, but he's come back. He can't fight until December because he really should come back, and you got to be in the testing pool for USADA for like 6 months. And USADA is the UFC's like body of organization who does all their drug testing. So he has to be in the USADA pool for like 6 months. Maybe we'll see Henry Cejudo move all the way up to featherweight and fight Max Holloway or Volkanovski, Alex Volkanovski. And then in the main event, the introduction was cool. I don't know, Tanner, if you caught it, but Israel Adesanya comes out with the Undertaker.
I saw that.
The bong hits. He's carrying the urn. It's cool. Everybody's hyped up. Even Vince McMahon sitting in the front row with Triple H, Pat McAfee, Stephanie McMahon. So some WWE representatives are in the house. And then the fight put us all to sleep. It was an absolute snooze fest. That's the way Izzy has fought the last few times. He's just almost pointed his opponent to death. There wasn't a whole lot of action, and I think after you watched Max beat Alex beat Max the way he did in 5 rounds, and that was an action fight. It went decision. Max has never been put away, and he still has never been put away. But it was just there was action in that fight for 5 rounds. Every fight had, there was some oohs and ahs, where there wasn't one time in that Izzy fight where anybody was in any trouble. It was a snooze fest. I was like, man, I could have went to bed and caught an extra 20 minutes early, but it is what it is. Izzy is actually going to fight this guy named Alex Pereira, who's on that card. He had the knockout of the night. He knocked out Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland's still trying to find his jaw on the octagon there. So that was kind of the highlights there. The UFC 276 on Saturday. Quick rundown there. We'll if you missed any of it and want to get any more great detail, make sure you do check out the Bodkins show, the pre and post shows that we covered all that yesterday and Saturday.
Definitely. And I feel like that's the problem with UFC sometimes is you get all this hype, get all this main event hype going on, and boxing's similar the same way, right? And it's just nothing good. Like, it's boring, man. I think that's the reason why I'm like, I just can't get behind it, because I've had so much hype for the longest time, and I just could never I don't know. It just wasn't what I expected in the end. Like, don't get me wrong, there are good fights, but it's just hard sometimes.
Yeah, it's hard fights when you pay about $75 to $80 for a card, and two of those fights don't live up to the billing. That's 100%. You're right on the money, Tanner, because that's what happens. That's why it's hard for people to buy in. You know, they don't understand it, or they do when it is a big fight. Izzy Adesanya is like, he's starting to fight like Floyd Mayweather. I mean, all Floyd Mayweather fights are exactly the same. Big hype outside of the ring, but once in the ring, it's boring but it's not. It's boring to the casual fan. But Floyd Mayweather's the best defensive fighter there's ever been. Probably, that's how he fights. The only fight that wasn't ever fought like that was Conor, because he knew he could beat Conor standing up and just, you know, swinging, and that wasn't your typical Floyd Mayweather fight, where Floyd just stays away, 1-2, 1-2, back away, 1-2, back away, 1-2, and then fight's over.
That's and the Pacquiao fight was very similar to that too, with Mayweather. So it's just, I don't know, it's just tough, and it's like baseball and football. You know, nobody wants to watch the defensive game. Nobody wants to watch the pitcher's game. You know, they want to see the home runs. They want to see the touchdowns, the long passes. So it's all the sports are like that. It's just you have to appreciate the defensive strategies and everything to really appreciate the full game.
All right, Tanner, it's time to get back into the NBA. Our main man, Dan, is joining the Buffoon and Bodkins show for the very first time. Go ahead, and I know you got his credentials written down. I'm doing my best here, but you got it. Take it away.
Dan BROSNAN of the fan club is coming on in for NBA Free Agency. Go ahead, Nick. Are you allowed him?
Yep, I got it.
Hey!
Hey! What's going on, boys? I'm happy to be here. It's going to be a fun one.
Happy 4th of July, man.
Happy 4th, guys. We got some fireworks for them today, man. We NBA season, dude, the free agency. This is the one sport where every year your head turns at some of the things happening, man. What's going on with our boy KD? Where is he going? It's going to be just a crazy ride the next 4 months.
Right?
I mean, Dan, it's like the NFL season. The NFL offseason was like that, and now I feel like the NBA season said, oh, NFL's offseason, you thought that was wild? Hold my beer. Because, I mean, we got some crazy shit happening here. With a lot of these big stars. I mean, like you just mentioned, it's KD, it's Kyrie. Me and Tanner were just talking about maybe Donovan Mitchell, you know, possibly on the move. I mean, big names. And then there's even these small signings that I just kind of mentioned earlier about my Bulls signing Goran Dragic, you know, as a nice addition.
Love that pickup. That was a problem with the Bulls. I live about 3 hours away from Chicago, so I feel like all of my buddies that like NBA are all Bulls fans, and I'm the one Bucks fan of the crew, right? And I actually saw the Bulls this year play the Bucks, and they got like the Bulls got thrashed, and it just came down to like 3-point shooting and protecting the rim. And you guys need rim protection, and you need shooters and playmakers. When Lonzo Ball got hurt, nobody would set anything up. It was all ISO ball or pass it once and shoot it. And that's not how you win a championship. But the Bulls are close. They have some actual real pieces. We just need some shooters and some shot blocking. And they brought in a playmaker and a shooter with Goran Dragic. So I actually like that.
And we brought in Andre Drummond as well. So there's your
shot blocker. There you go.
No, you're
and your rebounder too.
Yeah, you're 100% right on the money with the Bulls there, Dan. Like that's a 100% assessment. I've read reports though that Lonzo may never play again. I don't know. Have you heard that? Have you heard those reports too, or and how bad that
is? I've got some sources in Chicago, and they're saying it's not looking good, guys. Ever since he got that, he got surgery in the middle of the year, correct? He got some surgery, and then out of nowhere, like they thought he was going to progress, but he has not even had real full workouts since before the surgery. I've heard he's literally just sitting. And I just saw him in a new commercial the other day, and I'm like, oh, he's making that money every cent he can right now, because he could be out the league in a couple years, which is just a shame, because I mean, at least for the next 4 or 5 years, people will at least pick him up for a resurrection, even if because it's the name, it's the Ball brother, and we all know what he does when he's on the court. It does suck though, and I saw that the Bulls did draft the point guard in the first round, correct? So that shows that they're at least preparing themselves for him to be out longer than they hope. And they're bringing in someone that can maybe be the backup point guard. If Caruso would be your one and you're the guy, and what's going on with Kobe White? Are you guys keeping him? Are you trading him? That's another guy that needs to kind of step up. I think he needs a change of scenery, though. We've all seen those players that go from, they're not so good, and then they get traded and they start to kind of, their career goes up. I hate to bring this up, but kind of like a Bobby Portis. You feel me?
Yeah, that's very true.
100%. You're right. Yeah, it just never worked out for Bobby, unfortunately, in Chicago. And maybe it was the pressure being that first overall pick.
He was punching Mirotic in the eye.
I forgot. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's what got him out of town almost. Yeah. Then he went to New York. Didn't really, but I mean, you guys love him in Milwaukee. And he just signed a 4-year deal there.
Extension, man.
It was like a 4 for 48 or 49 or something. It was not a bad deal, and you could tell he took a couple million less every year just to stay there, because I heard this like a year ago, and it's still true. I go to like at least 3-4 Milwaukee games a year, and it's like when he makes one basket, it's like he made 4 baskets, because everyone just Bobby. Everyone is just going crazy for this guy, and he's like the 4th option.
Hey, and I call him crazy eyes because, man, that guy is insane. But his defense is what really pushes him through the game. For Milwaukee, and the biggest impact of it all is his defense. So I thought it was a great move to keep the guy.
Yeah, and he can do a little bit of everything that I like. He can be a shot blocker. He's like 6'9", 6'10", so he's not the tallest, but he's pretty quick for his size. So he can keep a lot of people in front of him. He's a good defender. He can shoot. He's pretty good. He's got a nice little juicy floater too. Like he's nice. He's got a nice. If he was like in 2K, you got to give him always like an 82, an 84, an 80. He's right. He's a perfect 80, man. And that's what you need on championship teams. You need your 4th option to be an all-around good player, depending on what's going on in the scenarios.
Right. And keeping on your Bucks here, you guys just got Joe Ingles from Utah. And that guy is a phenomenal support player. He's been a starter for Utah for a couple of years too. And I just think that's a move similar to maybe what Chris Middleton is, a good guy that could complement Giannis right now.
He is hurt though. That's the thing that kind of scares me is I think we gave him the mid-level exception. If I'm right, I think we gave him like $6.5 million a year, which sounds like that's kind of in the middle territory. So that's your one big pickup this year. It's only a bad move if the guy is more injured than we think, kind of like Alonzo Ball situation. So we'll see. I do hear that he's not going to be able to play until a few months in, but the Bucks also see this as, hey, we don't need you the first couple months. We need you on that back half of the season. We're talking about your Kemba Walker, stuff like that. I'm hoping maybe we could go and get another point guard, kind of like what the Bulls did with Goran.
Yeah. I said on our NBA Let's Talk Sports show roundup, I said the Bucks so far to me have won the offseason of bringing the band back together, bringing Wesley Matthews, Bobby Portis, and bringing those pieces back. But enough of this like mid-level guys and bench guys, Dan. I mean, who's the next big shoe to fall? Where's KD going? Where's Kyrie going? And where's Donovan going? I mean, 3-part question here. That's what everybody wants to know. So, break it down for us. And,
Bulls
my Bulls are getting KD, right? I mean, that's what's happening.
So the more that I look into the whole KD scenario, it is so hard. So hard when we play the game online, the GM tracker thing where you're trying to make a trade, and between the money, kind of where, like, great example, like, who is the best fit? It's the Warriors, but KD isn't going to go to the Warriors because that would kind of be against his image. Like, how do you leave the Warriors to go to Brooklyn to go back? But if you think about it, the Warriors have Wiggins, they have Kuminga, they have Poole, they have a lot of things that actually could make a lot of sense. But so when you're looking at trades like this, you have to look at the numbers, the draft capital and trade capital that you're getting back as Brooklyn, but then you also have to look at KD's legacy. And there's only a couple teams and one of the best options that I saw out there for Brooklyn, but this is like the best trade that would happen for Brooklyn, but it's never going to happen, is the Pelicans. The Pelicans would be able to either give up Ingram or Zion and a bunch of picks and a bunch of other things because they still got first rounders from Milwaukee and LA coming from the Davis trade. So they've got hella picks, but we know that KD isn't going to go to New Orleans. The one thing that does make sense to me is the Bulls, but the more that I'm thinking about it, I don't think that Brooklyn wants just Vooch or DeRozan because of age. I think they're going to want Zach LaVine. And so if they want Zach LaVine, that's going to take you got to wait a month or two to trade a guy you just signed. So I don't love that. I think that LaVine and KD on the same team would be more deadlier than any of those other guys you have there. Now, if there was a trade where maybe you trade Vooch and DeRozan together with some draft capital, maybe that gets it done. But then you have to look at salaries and all that fun stuff and adding it up. The Bulls do make the most sense to me. And if the Nets have to trade them, you're not going to get a lot of all-star caliber guys just right off the ripper.
Yeah, what about Toronto? It's been reported that Durant has just bought a house in Toronto, but you want a big three if you're going to have him in Toronto, so you don't want to move Siakam, and Fred VanVleet. You would want to keep those two guys in place, right?
And the way that I think of it, Brooklyn, because we were just talking about, getting the most out of it, is Siakam really the best guy that you can get out of this trade? That all-star? I feel like the Bulls, if I could get DeRozan and Vooch, that would be way better than just getting Siakam and Gary Trent Jr. and some first, because that they're not going to get rid of VanVleet.
Mm-hmm. There's no way.
I like a trade to Boston. I mean, I've been on that too. I mean, I was just kind of half joking about the Bulls, but if you really believe it, Dan, then I guess I got to start believing it. But I think a trade to Boston makes sense. You trade Tatum or Brown and maybe Marcus Smart and some picks for KD. I've kind of said that all along. I said that makes perfect sense. I think. Yeah, the Warriors have come out and said that's too much to bring KD back to trade those young guys. Is what I was reading on Bleacher Report. I don't know what your feelings on either one of those are.
I was told that if they could get a trade done without Jordan Poole, so if you could do a Wiggins, a Kuminga, and maybe a Wiseman, who was a number 2 overall pick and just hasn't played. So if you could get rid of and they're not just players like Wiggins was just an all-star, but if you could get rid of 3 guys that aren't Jordan Poole, plug KD back into Wiggins' spot, you pretty much have the same team that they won a championship with, except for Jordan Poole on the team. So, of course, you're going to make it work. It's just like with the Bulls. I say you trade whoever they want, just get Durant to put with one of your stars and then go after 3-point shooting and shot blockers. Same thing with the Warriors. If you have a chance to get 4 studs with Curry, Tristan Thompson, Poole, and then you get Durant to go with Draymond, those are 5 stud players. So yes, I would be totally down for that, but it goes back to the whole point of why would Durant want to, in some people's eyes, if he went to the Warriors, people would take him off of their top 10 all-time players or their top 20 or whatever. He would go down 10 to 15 spots because of the legacy thing, because he never won any championships unless he had Steph Curry on his team, pretty much, right? Like and he does think about legacy. Mr. Durant, he looks at Twitter. He looks at all that stuff.
Right.
And I think a reason why he's
me on his burner account before.
Yeah. And I think that's a big reason why he's leaving the Nets is because of the legacy. Like people are kind of killing him on this, but what are you going to do? He almost needs to find a perfect spot. I don't think so obviously the Suns would be a perfect spot for him, and I could see him going there, except the Suns are going to have to give up a bunch of stuff, and then it goes back to legacy. Like, here's Durant joining the 1 seed who just got beat last year. Here he goes again, joining a team that has a lot of firepower on it, and we're already good. And that's another reason why he wanted to go to the Nets, because he wanted to take a team that was not good and make them good. And he kind of did for 1 year, until he ran into a wall called Giannis.
Yeah, I also think the problem for the Bulls is they don't have any draft picks. I mean, we traded like all our draft picks away the last few years to acquire Vooch and DeMar DeRozan. So I don't know how far we can go back and get those, trade those picks away, ahead in those years.
I think you only gave up just a couple for Vooch, and then DeRozan was a free agent. So
it wasn't a trade.
I thought it was a sign and trade deal. It was a sign and trade.
Was it really?
I'm pretty sure, because I thought we gave up 2 first-round picks. That's
no way.
Yeah,
maybe that's something I don't know about. But if you did, I see why you did it. But that's gonna hurt you in a couple years when DeRozan's old. That kind of sucks. But I didn't know that. That's one thing we'll look into and stuff like that. But hey, the Bulls, if you're the Bulls, you got to make a run for it. You got the talent there, and the city is just irking. They're itching for just the team to be not only relevant but actually a top team again.
100%, Dan.
Yeah, Eric, let's talk Kyrie here, right? So we know Kyrie's not going to Canada because of the vaccine reasons. So he ain't gonna play if he goes there. So let's talk Kyrie here. Bought a house in LA.
Yeah.
Now, is this a move for the Lakers? Are we looking at him rejoining LeBron?
Yeah, so that's kind of similar thing to KD, but there's not a lot of options for Kyrie. But how would they make this work? If you're LA, you're gonna have to give up several first rounders to make this work, because you're gonna have to dump Westbrook's salary. And nobody wants that. What is it, $46 million a year for Westbrook? That's no good anymore. And he's not Westbrook that he was about 5-6 years ago when he was winning MVPs.
Even 2 years ago. 2 years.
Yeah,
ago.
not even 2 years ago. And his game has changed. I should say this: his game has stayed the same while the game of basketball has changed. It's all about 3-point shooting. It's not about slashing to the rim as a guard constantly. That's another reason why, I got my eye on John Moran and making sure he can continue that 3-point shot, because, these guys that just rely on their knees and their athleticism, it doesn't last forever. So you have to continue to evolve. And Westbrook is one guy that for years, people have told him, you need that 3-point shot. And he's literally said, nah, I don't. And now you're getting older. Your athleticism is starting to kind of fade away a little bit every year, and his stats are going down. I will say that if he went to a team, great example, if the Orlando Magic were willing to take a couple first rounders to get him and let him kind of be around those young kids, I think he'd be a walking triple-double and maybe get them to an 8 seed, because I like his intensity. I like him in certain spots as a player, but not on a championship team. You know what I mean? But he could help you get to a 7 or 8 seed like he did with OKC.
Yeah, you're right on the money. I love Westbrook's intensity. He's a guy that's going to bring it every night. He's going to leave it all on the court. But there's something that, like you said, Dan, there's something I like to say that's undefeated, and that's Father Time. And Father Time slowly catching up with what Mr. Russell Westbrook Westbrook, if you want to call him, because I mean, he just never developed that shot, that consistent 3-point shot. And once the quickness goes and you can no longer go by guys and dish it out to guys, what is his game? You know what I mean? And that he's getting to that point. Does a Kyrie for what Russell Westbrook? I mean, does that make sense? And both teams just do this? I mean, wash their hands of their problems.
Well, you're going to have to take on that salary, meaning that, I believe the Lakers will have to give up at least one first rounder to make this happen because, I mean, who would you rather have, Kyrie or Russ? You know, obviously we're all going to say Kyrie, even though he's a headache, his game is still top notch. He's definitely a top 20 talent in the NBA, even if we don't say he's a top 20 player because of everything else. He's a top 20 talent, and for some reason, he always – when LeBron James is his teammate, they do magical things together. And when you're looking at the talent, you're going to pick Kyrie, and it's the salary. I think Russ is even making more money than Kyrie Irving, meaning that someone's got to take that on. So either they're going to give up a first or they're going to give up a couple firsts so another third team could take on that contract. And maybe that could be like an Orlando or something.
That's very true there. So where do you think he ends up? Where do you think Kyrie ends up after all this is said and done?
LA for sure, just because if Mr. GM LeBron, if he influences an organization, hate it or love it, more than any player I've ever seen. I don't really love it because the players are good at certain things. Maybe like when it's a superstar player, yes. It's great to have your guy go out and try to, sell that person on your city and your team. But Mr. LeBron has had some bad things. Like I heard that they were going to keep Caruso and get DeRozan last year, but LeBron was like, no, sign Russ. And that was a lot to do with Rich Paul and LeBron in that camp. And then, halfway through the year, they wanted Pelinka to make a trade to get John Wall. And he's like, no, like this Russ thing is your guys' problem. Like you guys figure it out. I'm not doing this because when LeBron's your guy, I feel like the pressure's all on you. So that means every year you're making trades. And when you make how many trades a year, some are going to be good and some are going to be bad. You don't always win every single trade. So when you're constantly have the pressure to make 3-5 trades a year, you're going to make some mistakes.
That's very true there.
One last question for you, Dan. So where are the Jazz trading Donovan Mitchell here, and where does he end up? I mean, he's a New York hometown kid, so does he go home or what's the
they got Brunson, they don't need him.
So
exactly right.
My heart is telling me that he's going to Miami. I think Miami could put together a trade package because we just saw Rudy Gobert get traded for 4 first rounders. Miami, they're going to have to give up 4 first rounders, but when your team is in the conference finals every couple years, you don't have that good of a first rounder anyways. I would trade 4 first rounders, Tyler Hero, and either you pick. Do you want Bam Adebayo? Like what do you guys want? Let's make it happen. Develop for the future, and then if we could get a team with Jimmy Butler and Donovan Mitchell, those guys running mates, that would be some fun, guys. And I don't know what obviously there's more questions and more things you'd have to do to construct that team. But Jimmy Butler's starting to age a little bit, even though he still looks good. They bring in a younger guy to kind of be his D Wade, if you will. Because tell me Donovan Mitchell's game, like in Miami, that would be D Wade 2.0, man. I just feel like his intensity, like he's a good shooter. I like Donovan Mitchell. I think it would make the most sense in Miami, even though as a Bucks fan, I don't want that. But I feel like if I close my eyes and think of any player that's going anywhere, I see Donovan Mitchell in a Miami jersey. It's just what I feel. It might be something else. And Utah looks like they're going to rebuild, and they don't have to trade him in the conference. They can send him over to Miami. And that Miami's a great organization, the culture. he would obviously say yes. Donovan Mitchell seems like he's a little bougie on where he wants to go, which I fully understand. I don't want to go to Orlando either. So, yeah, he's going to go to the other Florida team deep down. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just what I'm feeling.
All right, Dan.
That's a big one, dude.
Yeah, that is a big one. Hey, Dan, we appreciate you coming on. Go ahead, tell us again where we can find it, where everybody can find your stuff at, Dan.
Yeah, you can find me on all platforms, all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. The fan club will pop up right away. Come check us out, guys.
Hey, appreciate it, Dan. Thanks a lot.
Hey, Dan, real quick. You had a music video showing on Friday or something like that?
Yeah, I had a music video shoot to my new song. It's called Optimus Prime, dude. It was a good time. I'll have to send you guys the link when we get it done.
Yeah, when you get it done, definitely share it.
Yeah,
thanks, we will. I appreciate it, Dan. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for joining, man.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Tanner. Right now, it's time for our big series of the week.
Oh man, I gotta do something on my phone.
You got the thumbnail popped up?
And I got you.
All right.
I'll figure it out. Don't worry. Perfect. There we go, guys.
Hey, there we go. Hey, our big series of the week, and with our big series of the week and our baseball talk, we always got our main man, Jonathan. Is it Grisham, right?
Jonathan GRISHMAN of Alpha Performance.
Boom. Welcome back, Jonathan.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me back.
Hey, happy
you not have
4th
a
of
tournament
July.
this weekend?
We did have tournament this weekend. We had my high school group play this past weekend. They got into a college showcase, so we were able to kind of get a little bit of action in front of colleges. The point of my program, we're trying to be that college prep, organization, and get these athletes, get these girls to go to the next level and play college. So they got their first test this past weekend.
Awesome. How'd it go?
It went well, actually. We were a little bit more successful than we've had in the past. Still new organization, so we're trying to break those barriers. And some of these established programs have been around for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. We just finished year 3, so we're still trying to get to that level of being able to compete at an elite level with those other programs. And we actually did pretty well. We won a few games this past weekend. We impressed some of the coaches that were out there. So it was a very successful weekend for us.
Very awesome.
So, Jonathan, again, appreciate you coming on, taking time out of your 4th of July. So our big series of this week was the Blue Jays and the Rays. I'm just going to – both these teams are obviously playing second fiddle to the Yankees that we talked about last week. The Rays took 3 out of 5 here from the Blue Jays. Both of these teams, are they pretenders, contenders? And, we don't see either one of these teams catching the Yankees, so they're playing for the wild card, correct?
Yeah, that's basically where it is. The way the division is really shaped out in the AL East, it's the Yankees to not screw up, and so everybody else in the division is just trying to see if they can get to that wild card spot, and that's what it is. So right now with these teams, with Blue Jays and Rays, they're having a lot of ground to gain, in as well as with the Red Sox in the division, and you'll feel the teams that you're kind of competing with. The American League East is probably the best, and I'm using the word probably just for context purpose, but it is the best competitive division with 4 teams that are right in the playoff mix right now. So it's going to be a battle with those 3, with the Red Sox, Blue Jays, and Rays, to see who's going to be in that slot. Right now, it's the Red Sox and Blue Jays that are there, with the Rays just on the heels of them. So it's going to be very competitive the rest of the season between those 3 teams, and that's. I don't see another team in another division really making noise to catch either one of those teams. So those 3 will be battling it out. It's going to make it even more interesting how the rivalries of the American League East really plays out with those 3. That it's going to make it very compelling the rest of the season.
Yeah, so the Rays and Blue Jays just played a 5-game series here. Toronto beat them the first 2 games, and the Rays handily took care of them the last 3 games, which I thought was impressive. And they lead the overall series this year. Was that 5-3? The interesting thing is they got to play 2 series in September against each other. I think they got 1 in August and then 2 in September. That could be playoff implications there. So, what do you think? What are your thoughts here going forward? Is that September series could be basically the end all be all of who gets in and who doesn't?
I think with this series that they just played this weekend was a huge boost for the Rays to really kind of get that series win. They needed that after, kind of falling behind with the Red Sox being hot in June and the Blue Jays still right above them. So the Rays needed this boost this weekend to take these 3 games. And as you said, it started off really rocky with the 2 games on Thursday and Friday. That series in September that you asked about is going to be it's more about seeding. And I actually think those two, the Blue Jays and the Rays, will be the top 2 teams competing for wild card seeding. Who's going to be the top number 1 wild card? Who's going to be the number 2? I don't see the Red Sox hanging around throughout as much. I think they caught fire at the right time. So it's going to be really between the Blue Jays and Rays throughout. That September series is going to determine who's the seeding side of it, whether you're the number 1 wild card or number 2 wild card, which, again, you're getting yourself into the dance, and that's what matters more than anything else when you get to that point in the latter part of the season. And it's going to be interesting. It's just a matter of who's going to pitch better right now, and that's the Rays at the moment have pitched better with their numbers, what they're at compared to the Blue Jays. But the Blue Jays offense is really what's carrying them so far and being able to be the contender team in the wild card there. And you saw a little bit as far as what they can do offensively early in that series, putting 9 runs on Friday. But the pitching for the Rays kind of kept them a little bit at bay the rest of the weekend. So you talk about 2 different teams and how they're built. One with offense that the Blue Jays, one's more pitching and defense with the Rays. It's just it's a great dynamic of how those teams are going to match up all season and going into that last series in September.
Yeah, I like to call the Blue Jays the kids team because they got all the former baseball players of kids, Dante Bichette, Vlad Guerrero.
Biggio's another one.
Yeah, they got Biggio.
Yeah, they got all the kids teams. I call them the junior team because
didn't that make you feel old?
Right.
Yeah.
I grew up watching those guys. I grew up watching Biggio. Now I'm watching their kids play. I'm like, man, that makes me feel old right there.
I don't need any more help either. So this is ridiculous. Go ahead, Nick. Sorry.
I was just going to ask, what is each team? I mean, you just alluded to it that the Blue Jays, their lineup, I mean, top to bottom, one of the best in baseball because we just named off their great players. And then the Rays, we know that they've always been about pitching. It seems like, I mean, even way back when Joe Madden was there. What does each team need to add here to kind of separate themselves from the pack as we get closer to the trade deadline?
Well, we just talked about the pitching for the Blue Jays has not been what their bread and butter has been this year. I wrote it down as well. Their Blue Jays are 22nd in ERA in Major League Baseball right now. If you talk about the money they spent on the pitching staff, bringing in, signing Jose Barrios to an extension. You brought in Kevin Gausman. You signed in UC Kukichi. You traded for Alex Manoah. I mean, Manoah's the only one who's really actually pitched really well this season. With a 2.09 ERA. I mean, he's the superstar pitcher that they have so far, and he's not even the high price guy they signed in Jose Barrios, who's 6-4, but with a 5.72 ERA. That can't be. If you're supposed to be the number 1 guy, and that's who Barrios is supposed to be for that staff, you can't have a 5 ERA. I don't care at what level you're pitching at. So the pitching for the Blue Jays has really let them down. If they had somewhat better, consistent pitching, you're talking about the Blue Jays probably being right there with the Yankees in this division. But that has not been the case. And that's what they need to do. They need to find a way to get another pitcher in that rotation and really help. Heejun Ryu has been on the IL most of the season. He only pitched 6 games. So having another starter, a little bit more established starter to put into that rotation is going to be very much a need for the Blue Jays moving forward. And you talk about vice versa for the Rays. I think they need another bat. I think their offense has been sputtering at times, very inconsistent. Guys who you're expecting to be the big bats haven't really done it. Randy Arozareno, Yandy Diaz has not really been playing all that great like you were hoping they would be. Wander Franco is still really young. So you're still waiting for that development to really kick off for him to where he starts to be that superstar player that he's supposed to be. So they're going to be patient with him. But for the Rays, it's got to be offense. They need to focus a little bit more on getting more consistent bats in that lineup to put themselves in contention in the wild card the rest of the season.
That's very true there. And kind of going down the stats real quick here. Toronto's top 3 in batting average for .258, top 3 in rubies. at 369. Nice. Toronto, hit leader right now is at 703. And then, of course, Rays are top 4 in stolen bases. Rays lead the 4th in the ERA, 3.31. So, it's complete opposite dimensions of each team. But usually, as much as people hate it, defense wins championships, and defense usually prevails as long as they can be somewhat consistent in the hitting aspect for the Rays. So that's been kind of interesting series going into play.
Yeah. It sounds like Barrios pitches for the Cubs with an ERA of 5. So, so is there a guy if you could for each team that you said that the Rays need, the Blue Jays need pitching, and the Rays need a hitter. What's one guy that each team could go out and snag here that would maybe separate them? I mean, we got the position, but who's the player that would put them there?
Hey, it's going to be tough to say because you still have the big market teams that are out there looking for the same thing. So the Rays aren't going to outspend somebody or really sit there and say outbid somebody. For a player like the Yankees may want or the Dodgers may market. And so finding that guy is going to be really difficult to sit there and say who you want. You got to probably find that mid-level guy that can still give you a boost if he's on a contender team. Jorge Soler from the Royals to the Braves kind of comes to mind of what he was able to provide the Braves, in their World Series run. He was not a big name guy. He wasn't playing extremely well, but he was a right fit for what the Braves needed. I think somebody like that for the Rays could look at and really target. If I had to take a guess, and it just depends on how this team really plays the next few weeks. If they fall off a little bit more, which I kind of think they're going to, I could see the Phillies unloading Kyle Schwarber to a team maybe like the Rays. If they can get an offer made. Again, it all depends if the Phillies do fall back a little bit more in the race between the Braves and Mets and the NL East. If that happens, you can make an offer for a Schwarber and get that big bat that they need in that lineup. I think that'd be somebody who could make it a little bit interesting. But again, it just depends on what is offered. And there's a few guys. Brian Reynolds for Pittsburgh is another guy that you can get consistency to the lineup. That would be someone that you can look at and say, hey, make an offer and see if you can blow them away before the big name teams are trying to make those offers for.
Andrew Benintendi is another one for the Royals. Who's been in the Andrew Benintendi?
Andrew Benintendi, absolutely. He's another one who's been on the block with it. So yeah, that'd be a good idea. And Benintendi might be that better bat or better priced bat that a team like the Rays could look at, where somebody like the Yankees or Dodgers are not necessarily targeting. So the price is not going to be as much for a team like the Rays to make that offer for. In regards to the Blue Jays, as far as a pitching, that's going to be so hard to find. Again, as you said, as I said, the price of pitching at the trade deadline is just sky high so much. So trying to find that number 2 or 3 guy, you don't need a number 1. I think you said Manoah's pitched really well. Barrios, hopefully he can figure out his stuff and get a little bit more consistent the rest of the season. But if you can find a number 2 or 3 guy to plug into that line, into that rotation, or if you're the Blue Jays, you'll take that because that just makes your rotation deeper and allows your bullpen to be used the right way.
Yeah, that's spot on. Pitching is the hardest thing to actually predict too this year because there's just so many out there, but it's so hard to pick out which ones could be available in the end. I mean, you kind of got to go back to contract status and stuff to really pick out who is a team willing to move on from. So the Royals and the Cubs can move on from a couple, I'm sure, right, Nick?
We need pitching, man. I mean, let's forget Kyle Hendricks. We'd have to get I would like a haul for Kyle.
Awesome. Cool.
Well,
Jonathan,
I appreciate you coming on, man. We appreciate you coming on and taking time out of your busy 4th. Good luck to you. What do you got going on this week as far as tournaments?
This week we got our younger teams we're playing this week, and our 12U teams competing at a Dallas-Fort Worth national tournament where we have some of the teams around the area, around the Texas area, coming around into Dallas-Fort Worth. So they're going to be competing this weekend. And then my 14U team, my older 14U team, they're actually getting their first high school tournament they're playing in. So they're playing against 16, 18-year-olds this weekend. So get to test them out a little bit earlier than we really planned. But the way they've been playing the last few weeks, I think they're going to handle it very well. So why not test them at a higher level and see how they handle it?
Awesome.
All right. Hey, best of luck to you this week, Jonathan. We appreciate you coming in. You have a good rest of the 4th, man. I'm Sure, we'll be in touch hopefully next week for the old big series of the week. We always appreciate your baseball insight. I suck at baseball, but I love watching it, so appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it, guys. Always enjoy the time with you guys. Have a happy 4th of July for y'all as well.
You too. Thanks, Jonathan.
See you guys.
All right, guys. That was Jonathan GRISHMAN of Alpha Performance. Make sure you go check it out. Appreciate it. Well, Nick, that was interesting, right? I mean, who do you got pulling ahead? Do you think the Rays can pull ahead, or do you think Toronto will finish up top because of their offense?
So I picked the Blue Jays to win the East earlier this year. I just thought it was. I actually had Vlad Guerrero as my dark horse MVP. So Tanner, we're gonna keep this party rolling here. Go ahead and tell them about our next great guest, the man, the myth, the legend that is Dan Harris. There would be no Buffoon and Bodkins without Dan Harris. So
there wouldn't be.
There wouldn't be.
No, so we got Dan Harris of Let's Talk Sports Network. This is the guy that has connected us both, has connected us to multiple Dan BROSNAN, for instance, Jonathan GRISHMAN, Jim Behringer from last week. This guy has done a lot for his network, and it's still growing. We just celebrated 2 years on Thursday, and there's way more to come in the future here. I'm excited for it. We're excited for it. Let's bring him in. Dan Harris, guys. Dan, thank you so much for joining us.
Dan, you there? Oh, he's here. He's not muted.
Give it a second. Oh, there we go. Here's something. Dan, try refreshing here. I don't know if you're having issues. Try refreshing. So we're going to talk some New York Jets, guys, with Dan here. He is a New York Jets fan. He is from the UK as well, so it's going to be interesting to get his take there from across the ocean there. And we're just going to, ask him what the expectations, what kind of predictions are with the New York Jets coming into play as we start entering NFL season, since it is July now.
Yeah, I mean, camps start here in next week. We're only about 10 Sundays away or so, I think.
Yeah, that's a crazy stat.
Opening day. So kickoff. What is it? The Rams and I forget who the Rams are playing on opening night, but it's the Rams and
Titans.
I thought it was the Ravens. I don't know.
It could be Ravens. I can't remember. I don't have my computer in front of me.
I could
look here. All I got is my cell phone I'm using right now.
Let me look it up. I'm gonna look it up. Wait. We might have our guy. Here we go. We'll everybody else can look it up. We're bringing in Dan Harris here to talk about
Dan, you there?
Jets. Dan, you there? I still got.
Up all the way.
Yeah. I turned his volume up earlier.
Nope,
I'm gonna shoot him a message.
That's fine. But yeah, guys, this will be something here. As soon as we get this technical difficulty underway, you gotta love it, man. PCs and all this network stuff, mics go out, stuff doesn't work right because something's not plugged in. I've done it all. If you go watch the previous Sports Buffoon episodes when we began, I had technical stuff every day.
Yeah, yesterday I was literally doing a live show. It literally kicked me out of the room. We're still live. The guests are in their room by themselves. Then I had to it just resurfaced itself. So it was totally weird.
Yeah, no, that's what happens, man. People don't tell you in podcasting that the tech part of it is probably the most important part, but it's the hardest part to understand and control. So I even have a sound like a mixer, and there's times I still there's a button that's hit and I don't notice it, and everything's messing up. Did you hear anything from Dan there?
He's messaging me right back, right?
Okay.
He's like, I'm speaking. Nothing can he can hear us, but we can't hear him.
Chat, tell him to refresh again, completely back out and re-click the invite.
Yeah. Hey, Dan, go ahead and just back out, and then we'll try it again one more time here. He's like, I'm speaking. He said he can hear us, but we can't. Nah, we can't.
I've had that issue in the past too. You can have them check audio settings too.
Yeah,
I
check your
mean, like,
audio. Oh,
if you guys are up and coming and trying to be a podcaster, I'm telling you right now, settings are galore. Trying to do Windows settings on your mics and stuff is hard. Nick uses Chrome right now, and I know that can be a pain at times too, trying to get those settings because they are different from Windows and Apple. So it just takes time and patience, guys. It really does. I promise you. I know all about it, and I'm still dealing with it. So it's all right.
we're while we're waiting for Dan to come back, we're kind of talking about the season opening up here.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of be talking about the Jets. So what's your expectations of the Jets? I know I'll tell you my expectations are probably real low, but what's yours? I mean, that's kind of your conference. You're the AFC guy. Chiefs playing the Jets. Well, oh, Dan, let's see. Here it is. Dan, you good here?
Dan, check your settings. Go to near the sound button with the arrow, and then you should be able to click it and make sure your mic is selected. Maybe, maybe not. So expectations for me while Dan tries to click that here. The New York Jets guys is going to be an interesting team for me. Um, I don't have too high hopes, too high expectations, especially in a division where the Dolphins just stacked up. The Patriots have Mac Jones returning to year two, and he looks way more in shape than he did coming out of the draft, with better weapons as well. And their running back room is ridiculous too. Defense returns. Yes, they lost Josh McDaniels, but I don't think that's going to affect too much. And then the Bills, guys, we all know the Bills are always going to be Super Bowl contenders as long as Josh Allen and that defense is there. So, the Jets unfortunately have a very tough conference to bounce back to. But I think it all depends on the play of Zach Wilson in the end. If Zach can come out and, not toss interceptions and not look like a complete rookie that doesn't have any weapons or line, then they might be all right because they did get some pieces in the line this year. Did you say anything?
Yeah, he said nothing. No, nothing. Sorry, that's all he said. And I asked him if he can hear us.
Let's see here.
There's a little button on the mic. That's.
So if it's on my computer, I can do some stuff. Let's see here. Let me do this here. The kick in. Tell him to rejoin. See, JG has these computer issues too. He had them during the NBA show, and I had to kind of show him how to get to it. A lot of times it's either the next to the sound button, there's an arrow to the right, and you have to click it and be able to make sure your settings are correct in the mic.
It said it came out. I'm just going to tell him
to join again. I kicked him. Tell him to rejoin. Okay. I kicked both of us. What are your expectations, Nick?
Not too low. I was actually just looking up the schedule here for the Jets and just kind of, seeing what I hate when you type in their damn schedule and it gives me, I don't want I just want
tickets. Yes. Bye. Tell everybody.
I'm not. My expectation of them are. I do like what they're building there in New York. I think that they could have, a decent team. I don't think that I'm not a big Zach Wilson fan, so I'm just kind of looking at their schedule here.
Yeah, their schedule's nothing too impressive.
You know, they're probably in a. I mean, the Dolphins and Bills are pretty. You know, in their conference are pretty. You know, in their division are pretty tough. And then I'm just kind of looking. It looks like they. Let's see. Start the season with the Ravens, and then they got you know, then they got the Browns. Depending on that situation, that's a possible win right there. They got the Bengals, the Steelers. We'll see how they're going to be. Then they play the Dolphins, the Jets. Or I mean, the Packers, the Broncos. I mean, the Patriots. I still. I mean, they're probably not better than the Patriots yet. I mean, I'll still take the Patriots. I mean, the Vikings, Lions, they got the Jaguars. I mean, I really don't see but maybe 4 or 5 wins, you know, for the
Yeah,
New
it's
York
gonna
Jets.
be conference for them. It's the challenge part, really. I don't think their majority of their schedule outside of the conference isn't too bad. They are winnable games, but I feel like I don't know. I just feel like something about the conference is just going to cause them issues. But they're going to upset too, right? They could pull away from the Dolphins. They could get something from the Pats. The Bills will be a little harder, but I think if they're having a good day, they could do that. Let's
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. Yeah, he said he's got nothing there. So on his end, I mean, we could try to bring him back next week.
Wait, do you have a share ability on your computer?
A share ability.
Like share screen
I don't.
at the bottom?
Oh shit. No, I don't like. Wait, yeah, I do right here. Share.
Can you call him on Facebook chat on your computer?
Um,
Does that work?
I don't. I
Or,
don't.
or can you call him on your phone and just put it up next to the mic?
I can.
See if he's all right with that. Yeah.
Hey Dan, we got you on. We got you on the phone. Can you pick that up, Tanner? Can you hear Dan? Hey, go ahead and talk, Dan.
I can remember a little bit. Yeah.
All right. Hey, sorry, Dan. We don't know what the heck is going on here. Tanner's on location, and I'm not the computer nerd that he is. So, we're doing our best over here.
Hey, will you put him closer to where you're speaking into? There you go.
Yeah.
So, there
So
we go.
I know you're coming all the way across the pond, and we appreciate everything that you've done for us. I know, Dan. So my very first question for you is, all the way across the pond. I mean, that's soccer land. How did you get into American football, and why the gosh dang Jets? Is my two questions there.
Football really, just any sport I watch. Yeah, that's really why the NFL is getting bigger in this country, and the Jets is really my brother's fault. He was a big Darrell Reeves fan. He had this shirt, and I was watching the Jets every week. So I sort of fell into the Jets.
Awesome, man. That's big. Let's see here. Will you ask him here kind of the expectations this year?
Yeah, so Tanner just kind of wants to know what's your we were kind of talking our expectations, the Jets. Tanner said he didn't really see too many wins. I said maybe 4 or 5 wins. I think when we've talked before, I said like 6.5 over under. And I'd still take the under at 6.5. But what's your expectations here of your beloved New York Jets?
I think 6 is around what I want to see. I think if everyone stays healthy, that's a realistic expectation, but a bigger than whether it's 5 wins or 6 wins. are they looking competitive in these games? And also, these division games, they've got to start winning. I think the aim has to be 2 of them. You can't expect the league to give you respect if you're going 0-6 in your division, because it's just embarrassing.
That's pretty true.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
I got another question here. What's the expect to the rookies, Jermaine Johnson and Sauce Gardner coming into play?
What's your expectations of Jermaine Johnson and
Sauce Gardner.
Sauce Gardner?
Quite hard, to be honest with you. I think Jermaine Johnson, I would have been happy with them taking him in the top 10. So to get them where he is, okay with, I think he's underrated at stopping the run as well. So Robert Sala should be able to mould him into some of what he did in the 49. It's not as high, obviously, but that sort of success. And Sauce Gardner will benefit from Jermaine Johnson coming in. The 2 picks sort of play hand in hand. You've got the pass rush, which with Sauce Gardner patrolling in the secondary, he should benefit from. Hopefully, we improve the line.
That's fair.
I get that. Yeah. So, I mean, what's your expectations of Zach Wilson to me? Because I think that's obviously the key. I didn't never, I think I've kind of told you, I didn't never really think that they should have took him at number 2. I liked Justin Fields more than I liked Wilson going into last year's draft. So what's your expectations of Wilson? And, just kind of back caveat that, like, how did you feel when they drafted Wilson last year?
I'm going to be honest with you. I wanted Justin Fields. I thought he was the safer pick. I do see what they see in Zach Wilson, but that's it. I'll be honest. If you asked me at the beginning of that season, I barely knew who he was. So it felt like it was that fast climb up the board, and you always need to be wary of that when you have the Jets' luck at drafting. So I would have went Fields, but Zach Wilson has impressed me with his work ethic. I think he gets what's required to be a quarterback, particularly in New York. Now, that said, that don't mean he'll be a success. This year will be very important. The back end of the year, you saw a big improvement, but can he build on that this year? That's going to be the big question mark, particularly as the offense was so dialed back to stop those interceptions that he almost couldn't throw an interception. Now he needs to find a happy medium between that hero ball at the beginning of the year and that dialed back play to be a functional quarterback in this offense.
Yeah. Who's going to be Zach Wilson's savior this year? Is it going to be one of the wideouts, or is it going to be the tight ends, Uzama and Conklin, to save him in those dire situations?
So Tanner kind of wants to know who's going to be their number 1 kind of guy for Zach Wilson. Is it going to be the wideouts that you're expecting big numbers from, or is it going to be the tight ends, or even the backs? Because they got some backs that can catch the ball out of the backfield. So who's going to be his number 1 safety valve, the guy that he's going to be looking forward to, the guy that you're going to be looking at?
Well, they will rely heavily on the run, definitely by committee approach. It's how they do things. But Tyler Conklin is the name I'm watching. He seems to, at this point, gone ahead a little bit of CJ Osama in the rotation. I think he will be the volume guy, whereas CJ Osama will be the red zone target. So a lot of people will talk about Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson, but I think Tyler Conklin will be an underrated guy in the offense, and they really wanted tight ends last year. They basically had no tight end last year, so for this offense to be everything what they want it to be, they needed not just one tight end but 2, and Conklin will be the guy, I think, when all said and done.
Dan, I know we are a big Jets fan, and you kind of talked us to like American football. What was like the sport that you kind of grew up watching as a kid, though? I mean, especially over there, over across the pond, as the kids like to say.
But growing up, it's definitely what you'll call soccer. I'm actually a West Ham fan, which for anyone that don't know much about the Premier League, they're essentially the Premiership version of the Jets. So yeah, I was a glutton for punishment, but I'm a big one on not picking necessarily the team at the top, a team what you maybe have an affection for, but are building something, because then when they have success, it'll be all that better.
So what I hear you saying, Dan, is that you pick crappy teams in American football and in English football. Is that correct? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
That would be correct. Yes.
So my final question for him is: does Quinnen Williams get the big contract after this year?
So Tanner just wants to know one last question here before we get you out. Quinn Williams, what's the future on him? Is he picking up that big contract, or what's your expectations of the future of Mr. Quinn Williams, a guy that they drafted third overall a couple years ago?
Yep. I've got to be honest. I absolutely love his character. He's that fun guy. Something what the Jets ain't necessarily had, but he's got to put together this year. You've had these years where he's flashed, where he's had 7 sacks, and you think next year will be the year. And then it's basically the same thing. He has spells where he looks like he's going to be the guy, but that's not enough. He's got to get 10 sacks and be that leader. He wants a big payday. Well, with ads on that D-line, they've got hopefully Carl Lawson will come back and look good, and Johnson. Well, he needs to lead from the front in the interior. So I'm not sure how this is going to play out, because there's a little bit of inconsistency, a bit of health concerns, and I think he wants to be paid big, and I'm not sure necessarily Joe Douglas trusts him enough to pay him that money going forward.
Well, Dan, we appreciate you. Me and Tanner just said, we wouldn't be here without you. You've done so much. I can speak for myself, so much bringing us on to your network, the Let's Talk Sports Network. If you haven't, anybody you're pretty much watching me and Tanner, you know all about Let's Talk Sports, I feel like, because we pump your stuff. There would be no Buffoon and Bodkins without it there. And I probably could say, without you, Dan, there probably wouldn't even be a Bodkins show. I was just doing crap on my phone until I got linked up with you some miraculously way through Twitter. And here I am just doing 3-4 shows a week now, and I owe a lot of it to you, my friend. So I thank you a lot. I appreciate it, and me and Tanner appreciate you having to even do this over the phone and coming on. Tanner is bowing down to you. So Tanner, you got anything else from Mr. Dan, the lovely Dan Harris? I think I kind of wrapped that up in a nice bow tie there.
Nah, you said it all, man. Just fabulous guy and fabulous network. So just happy to be part of it.
Yeah, we're extremely happy, Dan, and we appreciate everything that you do. And me and Tanner, I know we're both on for the long haul here at the Let's Talk Sports Network. So, again, Dan, we appreciate you coming on and everything that you've done for us.
Thank you, Dan.
I appreciate you both in the same measure. I think I'll probably talk to both of you probably every day. So, I just love talking sports with you and having you part of my network. So I do thank you both for everything you add to it.
Thank you, Dan.
All right, Dan, we appreciate it. You have a good day. All right.
That's the man, everybody. That's the man. So I love Dan. Love the things he does. So, well, Nick, I think we've pretty much are out of the end here. You got anything else you want to talk about here?
No, that's it, man. If I don't get out of here soon, my wife's going to be mad at me because we are supposed to be taking the kids to swimming or to the river or something. I think, I don't know. There was a big vote on what we were doing, and I was coming down here to knock this show out here with you, my brother, and so I got to get out a little bit out of the doghouse here. So I got to do some dad duties. Oh, he just hung up. What happened? Oh,
it just like went weird on me. All right.
Yeah, that's what happened to
But
me.
yeah, no, I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. Like I got. She's napping right now over here, but yeah, it's about time to wrap her up. So cool, guys. Well, check us out next Monday. Buffoon and Bodkins here. We'll announce it. It'll be back to the evening time, and then we will also have some more guests on as well going to play. Check the Sports Buffoons here out on Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central. Another great show going on. And then catch Nick and I both on Saturday on Let's Talk Sports, 11 a.m. Central. We do a little debate and stuff. And then, Nick, you're back on Sunday as well, right?
Yeah, I'll have the weekly show, just kind of the old weekly wrap-up show on Wednesday mornings. So drink up some coffee, wake up with me, and then we'll be back on, like you said, Let's Talk Sports Saturday. And then Sunday, we're working on some guests, and we'll be back live on Sunday with a nice little special guest on the Bodkins show. We're working on some things. That'll probably hopefully get announced on my Wednesday show on who we're going to have. So we're working on some things. But, yeah, this is Tanner, it's been a pleasure, man. Another great episode of the Buffoon and Bodkins. So we are that's it, man. We appreciate y'all. Make sure you guys check out both of the networks. Let's Talk Sports. Subscribe to the Bodkins show, subscribe to the Sports Buffoons. Tanner, you enjoy the rest of the great 4th of July here.
That's right. Hey, fireworks time. Happy 4th, man. So everybody have a great day. Thanks all.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to the Buffoons and Bodkins show. Make sure you hit that bell, subscribe, and follow for more content. Swing over to the Bodkins show, subscribe and follow for him, and then also swing over to Let's Talk Sports Network and go subscribe to him because it's phenomenal for what he does, and there's a lot more to come on that channel between us as well. So make sure you guys do that. Thank you for watching.